Welcome back to another show on the Zero Edge. Today we're joined by a fantastic guest and I'm really excited to get into this one and you're about to find out why. So DDNK, welcome. I want you to just give us a brief introduction about yourself and then we're going to delve into some topics that I think the viewers are really going to enjoy.
Thank you, Kiran. My name is DDNK, Dr. Nazri Khan. Some people call me Dr. Khan, but I'm very famous with my name, DDNK, here in Malaysia. I am an economist by background, right? I work as an analyst. I'm currently a licensed fund manager in Malaysia, but I am also unique because not only I'm a licensed fund manager, but I'm also a personal trader at the same times. I could be one of the very rare species, I don't know, at least in Malaysia, a fund manager by background. At the same time, I'm also an active trader, or to be more exact, I am a scalper. I realized that a long time ago when I was an economist, I'm a bit disappointed because the traditional investing using economics does not work. So that forced me, to be more imaginative, more creative, to create my own technology in making money. And I'm very grateful today after 2 decades in my career, right? I have found, not to say a perfect strategy, but I'm very happy to share today. And I'm also very grateful. I am twice ranked as the world best day trader in the World Cup Trading Championship, Q1 and Q2 this year. Hopefully I can win again in Q3, but a very stiff competition. By the way, I must thank you, Kiran. I must thank Darwinex for granting me this interview. I really love Darwinex platform. My vision is, I have a dream. I have a dream that we will be able to trade the whole world 24 hours, right? Doesn't matter which country, right? And we can use artificial intelligence, hopefully in the near future, where we don't have to spend most of our time, watching all 6, 8 monitors, right? But perhaps we can use more of AI, artificial intelligence, so that, we can spend more time. I believe the downside of trading is, what should I say, work-life balance, right? Although I'm very passionate about trading, but sometimes I believe I spend a lot more time on trading instead on what is more important in life, which is life. Okay.
100%. I completely agree with you. And finding that balance is very difficult, especially when you start to see the success. You feel like giving more of your time to the career. It's very easy in the early days as a beginner when you're learning to do a couple of hours learning and then go and, blow off some steam. But when you're a professional and you've just taken a loss and you know that you need to stay in the zone, you kind of feel like you have to give more of yourself to the market, and it eats away at you every day. And it's something that I'm super passionate about when I talk to new traders is don't throw yourself in the deep end, scale up to that position where you learn how to not only trade, but you learn how to be in the market, because it takes its pound of flesh from every single person, no matter how good you are. One mistake and it can just obliterate everything. So I want to roll back to something that you just said. So for people who, you said you were the greatest trader in the futures for Q1 and Q2 in the World Trading Championships. For people who haven't heard of that, that's the Robbins Cup, right? Which is essentially, it's the Premier League or the NBA of trading. Only the best traders enter, only the best traders win. So for me, as a trader myself, not putting the interview aside, for me, it's fantastic to be able to speak to somebody who has cemented themselves at number one twice and, going again for a third time. Because you are in the position that so many traders strive towards. A lot of times I think people get lost. How do I make all this money? How do I get the Lamborghini? How do I live, the best lifestyle, but actually it's more about how do I perform at the top of my game? All that other stuff will come, right?
Exactly.
All that other stuff will come. And you say you've been doing this for what, 2 decades?
2 decades. 25 years to be more exact.
Okay, so you've dedicated 25 years of your life to something. And
since I'm 20.
Okay, so you're now reaping the benefits of all that time, which is amazing and really highlights that this is a long-term game. It's not a, one shot hit wonder or something. You have to just dedicate your, time to learn, and then you earn. It's one of those cringy sayings, you learn and then you earn, but in your case, it's absolutely correct.
You know why I spent so much time, 2 decades, to perfect my strategy? Because back then I thought to make a lot of money, you have to trade more. You have to trade a lot more assets. Well, I trade cryptos before, I trade Forex, I trade, British stock, I trade Canadian stock, I trade a lot of stuff. Then I realized that is wrong altogether. To make money, you have to undertrade sometimes, right? And you really have to focus on what, on instrument that really suits you well. Okay, some people cannot trade Forex, okay? For some reason, you cannot explain it, right? So in my case, I think the biggest mistake I do is I try to be the jack of all trades, right? And I blow my account probably more than 20 times. Yeah. And that is, to me, that is the biggest, shall I say, wise lessons to me, right? In the end, you just have to keep it simple, right? And know your game enough and know your territory. Wait for that monster setups, Kiran. You really have to wait for that monster setup. Even for scalper, people like me, all that I need to do is to wait for that monster setup, which may come today. S&P now is at new high. I'm very excited. Today's interview coincides with S&P and NASDAQ close to all-time high. So this could be the monster setup that I've been looking at. Yeah.
So do you focus nowadays, do you focus primarily on the ES and the NQ, or do you have, not necessarily a wide basket of assets, but do you have more than just those two? Or
no, I realize equity indexes is the most predictable, right? Is the best instrument that you can do multiple time frame. It's very reliable when it breaks out, right? And I think is the most predictable in terms of digesting all the news that comes, So yeah, I focus only on 2 things, which is NQ and ES. So to be more exact, NASDAQ index futures and S&P index futures.
Okay. And so I want to ask a question that's a little bit different, because we're not necessarily talking about your experience over the last 25 years, but I know we were speaking before this interview, and you said to me that, you are kind of one of a kind in Malaysia. There's no other, licensed fund managers or trading's not very big there. Have you seen a big growth in Malaysia of people like yourself or retail traders, or is the market is it still in its early days? And I mean, in the UK especially, there's, if you say to somebody, oh, I'm a trader, pretty much 90% of people say, oh yeah, I've tried that, or I opened an account, or I did this, or I did that. But I know in other countries, it's not actually as big as it is over here. And I think for me, for example, I always find it funny when, like you say, you are one of a kind, if you will, and there's not many people. So how do you, firstly, have you seen a big change over the past 25 years, like with the adoption of the market? And then secondly to that, how do you find success where the market isn't a thing, if that makes sense? So you've had to navigate your own path. How do you do that when nobody else knows what you're talking about?
Yeah, very good question, Kiran. Yeah, I think Malaysia is unique. When I start trading in Malaysia is like an alien here, right? Nobody knows what is trading. Most of the people in Malaysia thought that trading is some sort of gambling. That was like 20, 30 years ago, right? But now it's different. You can see generation, the younger generation, Gen Z or Gen Millennial, whatever you call them, right? We have very fast internet here. We have very liberal, so-called, anybody can open an account here in Malaysia, although the broker is in US or in UK. So things have improved, right? And I think the most important thing is that we can see that because in Malaysia, we put a lot of priority on Sharia principle. It's kind of a religious framework. Before you trade, you have to ensure that this stocks is Sharia, means it's halal, right? Because we are a Muslim country. I think that is I would say the biggest maybe obstacle that makes a lot of Malaysian do not want to trade because they think that it's not Sharia or that it's not halal. But things have changed. We have more scholars that understand trading. We see more cooperation between Muslim scholar and trading experts, right? So yeah, I think we can see more acceptance among Malaysians that trading is not only a business, but it's also a very profitable career, right? Where you can make consistent money from a small capital. But I think the biggest achievement in Malaysia is that you can see a new hybrid of fund manager that is not traditional, non-traditional fund manager. Because last time we see, most of the fund manager, whether in Malaysia or outside Malaysia, most of them are fundamentally driven. Most of them use econometrics model, economics model. Very rare that you find any fund manager that use, I would say, technical analysis-based model or psychological models. I could be one of the rare species here in Malaysia, maybe in ASEAN, in Southeast Asia, that use this. And you can see that most of the smart fund or giant fund in Malaysia, our retirement fund, for example, and so on, start to be more receptive, to trading concepts. I think back then, 10, 20 years ago, when you mentioned about trading, I think regulator here is a bit apprehensive, right? They don't encourage the word of trading, in your portfolios, okay? They don't encourage short-term trading. But maybe I have started changing this. Even in my portfolios, we trade a lot. Our average duration could be less than a month, maybe 2 weeks to a month, hopefully we want to shorten it further because I believe trading is good because that gives you more opportunities, although the cost can be slightly higher, transaction cost can be slightly higher, but you have more opportunities. And I think the best about this approach in your traditional fund management model is you have a better risk management control. When you use technical analysis, you know exactly where's your stop loss, where's your take profit, and so on. Yeah, I think I'm very happy to live in today's world. We have digitalization, we have very fast internet, we have more, globalization in the instruments, okay? Although we have a lot of, sometimes very, very funny product that I may not understand, like structured option, structured warrant. We try to avoid that. We don't understand it. But futures and CFD and all this, I think that are very positive instrument, very productive instrument, especially for people like me, because you can have, good leverage. Sometimes you need to gear up. You need some sort of leverage when you know that the odds or the probabilities are at your side. Back to you, Kiran.
I completely agree. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. I completely agree. I think leverage it's a beast, but you have to know how to tame the beast. Without leverage, you're going to really struggle unless you've got a pot of, 50 million capital that you can trade on leverage, which is the risk and reward of that is so nullified. But what I really find interesting, so I'm trying to compare in my head the start of your career to, compared to the start of somebody's career nowadays in kind of the UK or a European country or the US. where I could search on Google Forex trading in the UK, and I would be inundated with Forex brokers, funding companies, Darwinex, all the, mentorship groups. And I would have, within 10 minutes, I could have a mentor, I could have a community, I could have a broker account open, or pay a funding company, or whatever you may do. And that would be, my fast track to success. Whereas back in the day when you started, what was that like? Like, how did you even hear about the market to get pulled into something that nobody that you knew was doing, and it was kind of, trading was seen as gambling or whatever you say by the regulators? What actually pulled you in? Because I mean, it's paying off now, but back in the day, people must have thought you was insane, right?
Yeah. That's a fair question. I think 20 years ago, when I graduated around, year 2000, I find it very hard to find a mentor in trading, right? I have to resort, to outside Malaysia, gurus. I will fly to Singapore, even to Bangkok, to find all these great teachers, because it's very hard to find professional traders teaching Malaysian back then,
Mm-hmm.
But I think the real impetus that pushed me is when I was 24, 25 years old, right? I realized that, how to put it, I think I just hate my boss. Okay. I think I have very bad boss. When I start working, my boss have very poor communication skill, do not reward his staff well, display some sort of favoritism, give us a lot of workload. I think the reward I get is not proportion to what I contribute. I think that could be the real killer or catalyst that pushed me to go outside the traditional salary model into a second career, right? So that's how I end up with this book, a book written by William O'Neill, How to Make Money in Stocks. That's the first book I read. And it's from there, the rest is history. I go online, I go to investorsbusinessdaily.com, I go to his website, William O'Neill website and all that, So I'm so lucky because back then, year 2000, we still have very basic internet, going on. And that's how I started, right? That's how I started. And I opened my first broker, which is Saxo. Yeah, I use Saxo a lot. And that is where the platform that I get a lot, all instruments in the world is under one roof, including Malaysian stocks. Okay. So that is a real catalyst. Okay. I just don't like my boss, and then I'm not very happy with the traditional investing. Although I'm an economics, background, I'm disappointed that the economic does not work to make money, at least in investing. And it takes, it takes years, so it takes very long time for me to make profit. So what I do is that I resort to a new approach. That's where I find technical analysis. I find behavior model, evidence-based trading as the best, it's the best subject if you want to make money. Yeah. But I think the biggest mistake that I did back then is I am not so, how to say, I'm not so, I don't have the guts, I don't have the guts to use my own money. Yeah. I'm a bit stingy back then, right? So I use a lot of demo account, right? And I open so many demo account. I go to I learn from so many gurus, right? Because I thought the more that I learn, right, the more that I trade using demo account, I will find that holy grail system. And I spent like maybe probably 5-6 years, basically doing nothing. Yes, just go and learn and learn and learn. I think I waste my time. I think the biggest advice I need to give to the beginners is just to start small. Just stick with one strategy. All that you need is just one strategy and keep simple. Just stick with that strategy. Know when to use it, when not to use it, and when to double up and triple up using that strategy. Right? Don't be like me. I become how should I say a guru addict. From one guru, I jump to another guru. And I waste 5 or 6 years of my early life on trading.
I think that's a common theme even now. Is that, I mean, you said a perfect quote then was, the more I learn, the more I should be able to trade, and knowledge in this industry is often confused with experience, where you think I need to know more because when I learn that, I will be able to trade better or perform better or make more money, whatever your goal is. But actually, sometimes it's just experience doing the same thing. I've tried, for example, must be 5-6 different strategies over the past few years, but I always revert back to the one that I was taught at the beginning. And now, like I was saying earlier, I've implemented my own data matrix behind it all to kind of get rid of a load of the decision making to make the system easier. But when I look back retrospectively, everything that I learned taught me more about the original system and the original strategy, even though it's completely different, because it taught me what didn't work elsewhere. So then when I reverted back, it wasn't the knowledge of, oh, I now know more so I can do better. It was, I now have more experience. And even though I wasn't trading the same system, I knew what worked and what didn't work in markets. So when I went back to that same strategy or the original strategy I was taught, which I still trade to this day, I'm a lot more competent of a trader. But going back to the beginning of your journey, you said you read a book that was about stocks. So did you start with, just trading stocks? And how long did you do that before you kind of thought, okay, something needs to change. I need to actually expand my assets, expand my knowledge, and learn how to trade properly?
Yeah. I love this topic. You see, when I first started, at that time, I'm just about 23 years old. I just graduated, from Manchester University, UK. And I started working in one of the biggest Malaysian companies, Malaysian Telecom, right? And then I realized at that time, we don't have gurus so much in Malaysia, right? Very hard to find gurus. So I read this book, How to Make Money in Stock by William O'Neill. I read the books probably 3 times, okay? And I start using some of this principle, right? For example, find super trending stocks, zoom in on the chart pattern, weekly and daily chart, all that. Okay, fine. I use all this. I open my account with one of a very small broker in Malaysia, yeah? But then I made a mistake, right? I thought the more stock that I trade, right? And the more trades that I make, the more money I will make, right? I always use the same concept when we work in a company. The longer you work, the more hours that you put in, the more money you'll make. But in trading, it's different. The less amount of hours you spend on trading, the less trade that you make, sometimes that is the key for you to make more money. All that you need is to zoom in on your, what I call power hour, yeah? Your power hour is basically few hours of your favorite time. You trade on that time, you can maximize your profit. This is something that is not written in the book, yeah? But at least that book teach me what are the good or the great chart pattern I need to focus on. For example, parabolic chart pattern. That is the strongest, I think, chart pattern that will give you lots of money. But it's very hard for you to find that. You have to wait until you see a super bull, maybe halfway. Then you can see a lot of parabolic chart pattern. The second chart pattern I love is, of course, bullish flag pattern, bullish pennant pattern. You have triple gaps, runaway gap, you got breakaway gap, and all this combined together. But again, after making a few hundred of trades, I realized I cannot use the chart pattern in isolation. I need to use it along with some other indicators. Yeah, the more, how to say, the more indicators that you use, the more angle that you use at the same time, the more filter that you have, the better for your trades. But again, at that time, I don't have mentor, I don't have guru, yeah. So it's all on my own, right? It's like somebody trying to, to take a plane. You want to be a pilot just by reading books, okay? So it doesn't work. It doesn't work. You need a mentor. You need a guru. But there's also a problem when you find a guru. You never know whether that guru is a good guru. You never know whether that guru, is he a real trader himself, or is he making money from teaching, right? I can tell you, at least in Malaysia, or at least in Asian, most of the gurus here, they make more money from teaching instead of from trading, okay? So I found that is a second stumbling block, okay? So that takes me another few years before I realize whatever things that teacher teach you is not optimal, yeah? And yeah, then I waste probably 5 to 10 years of my life, in my early stage.
But I mean, like I say, that pattern is still not necessarily a pattern, but that behavior is still around now, where you have people claiming to do X, Y, and Z. And, with, like you say, the rising globalization and social media and stuff, it's now, there's kind of a blueprint. You enter trading, you might have a good streak, or you might not even have a good streak. You might just have a great way with words. You end up teaching people. You earn more money from teaching than you do from trading. That allows you to pay for a Lamborghini that you can post on Instagram. All of a sudden, you go viral. For example, I put an Instagram post up yesterday, and somebody commented on it saying, I won't mention names, but somebody commented on it because I just blocked them, saying, mocking the trade size that I was doing. So I'd made $1,000 on this position that I was in for 40 minutes. For me, fantastic. I'm happy with that. Somebody commented saying, this isn't 15 grand or 16 grand. And I was like, how do you even have that mentality? I have my MyFX books in my link. You can see my record. I've got my Darwinexes. You can see my record. I look at your page. You don't have any of that. You've just got supercars. Our community's the best, this, that, and the other. And I look at somebody like that, and I'm like, you're not even worth my time, because I cannot verify whether you trade or not, like you say. And I was exactly the same. Got caught up in smoke and mirrors. I need to learn from that person because they've got what I want, which is money, materialistic things. Oh no, now I need to see that person because they've got a new strategy, which they say is really good. None of them have a track record, so you can't verify it for yourself. But for me, the turning point in my career was when I had children, and I was like, I actually don't need that supercar, or I don't need that, that massive villa in the Santorini or whatever it is. I'm happy to just live a happy life with my family. And then all of a sudden I go, oh, actually, this is how it should be. I see more improvement now because my goals are truly aligned with what I actually want. So I'm going to do more work myself rather than paying these gurus. I'm going off on a bit of a tangent now, but I think it's like I say, it's snake oil salesmen have been around since the beginning of time, and they will continue to be around forever. What I do not understand is, in this day and age, with services like Darwinex or Darwinex Zero, MyFX Book, TradeZella, all of these different companies, how the snake oil salesmen still get away with it when
exactly
you can verify. For example, you come number one in the Robbins Cup twice. You can't fake that. So exactly. Why would I want to, if I want to learn how to trade ES futures, why would I go to somebody who cannot tell me categorically, this is my accomplishment, or this is my record? Why would I go to somebody like that when I can come to somebody like you who can prove everything that you ever say?
Exactly. I think it's human nature, you see, Kiran. Human nature. I think human nature, they want something very fast. They want success overnight, right? So that could be one of the reasons why people got trapped by looking at the people with Lamborghini, can talk a little bit about money and all that, They forgot that they also need to do due diligence, before they actually follow that guy or give the money to that guy. You see? But at least it's good that today's we have Darwinex, where you can go to Darwinex, you can check that this guy, although it's anonymous, but you can check, his track record of the last 3 years, of the last 5 years, before you give money to them, right? Or you copy trade, whatever things, from Darwinex, so at least that is something that is good. Well, of course, we're talking about beyond Malaysia, okay? So in Malaysia, we have a very strict regulation here on copy trade, right? In Malaysia, you are not allowed to copy trade somebody else. Until, yeah, you are not allowed to copy trade in Malaysia unless you have permission from a certain regulatory bodies, yeah? Unless that guy is but as far as I know, copy trade is not advisable in Malaysia, yeah? But what I can tell you, Kiran, is this, yeah? I think forgot about all these, scams, fraud, teachers. I think the real driver is your passion. You have to be passionate about maybe trading or whatever things that you want to do in your life. Because that passion is like a burning fire that will push you ahead, right? Although you have a lot of stumbling blocks. In my case, I have so many stumbling blocks. Even if I want to learn from a certain guru that cost me, I don't know, $5,000 back then, right? That's easy. It's like 3 times of my salary. But today is different, right? Today, I think the younger generation, they can learn from TikTok just like that, at their, in front of their eyes, using their phone, right? So you have a lot of information, free information that they can use. The only thing that they have to be aware is, of course, the fraud, yeah? The deep fake fraud, by AI and all that, yeah? But I think the current environment is very conducive for the young generation. You have super fast internet. You have lots of information. And I think you can also check whether that trader have a track record or not, right? But what you need in today's era is you need a strong determination, maybe some sort of, dream in your life, what you want to be. Because most of the young generation, they are not aware what do they want. They want money, but there are many ways you can make money, right? Okay. So that is something that I don't have it, 20 years ago. All right. And one more thing I realized, one more thing that I noticed is that you cannot use a certain method that everybody is using it. I mean, the more popular the approach, right, the less power it have. So I think you have to be contrarian a bit. If more people are bullish about Tesla, for example, it's time for you to start selling. If a lot more people are bearish on, I don't know, Walmart maybe, right? Or JP Morgan, there's about time for you to start buying the stocks. So you just have to be contrarian.
I think that's a really, really, really important message to everybody, is that trading as an industry isn't something where you should follow the herd. You need to be that sheep that runs away from, if I'm a wolf and I'm hunting sheep, I'm going for the pack. I'm not going for the lone sheep that's ran and hid on its own, because there's more chance that I'm going to, so when I think 90% plus of people fail, but nowadays, like you say, the industry is so conducive to picking up your phone or your laptop and being able to access the market. Like I said earlier, you can have a broker account, you can have a mentor, you can have all of these things within 10 minutes of opening up your laptop. But still, so many people are failing to make money and failing to turn it into a career. Whereas, back in the day, you knew it was a long-term game. You knew, because you didn't see everybody on social media posting their wins and saying, oh, I've just made 10 grand, or I've just done this, I've just done that. But behind closed doors, they've lost 5 trades that morning and you can't tell, It's an interesting narrative that I think, like you say, it's so accessible, it's so conducive, and still so many people cannot make it work. Now, we can put it down to psychology or whatever you want to say, but what do you think is the key reason that these people, traders in general, still can't make trading work, even though they have everything at their fingertips? And this is coming from somebody who didn't have it when you first started, because you couldn't pick up your smartphone and go on Google or go on YouTube. It just wasn't there. So why do you think people are failing now when they have everything that you didn't have back then?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of myth about trading, Kieran. Yeah, let me talk about some of the myths of trading. Okay, number one, the myth of trading is that you must have powerful strategy. Your strategy must look complicated, right? I think that's the first myth of trading. Number two, you must trade a lot of hours to make money, probably 8 hours a day, right? I think that's another mistake or another myth about trading. Other than that, people think you must have super strong computers, you must have strong, research, you must know advanced knowledge about economics, mathematics. I think these are all myths. Yeah. So I think the biggest mistake that people do is when they start trading, they have all these, wrong preconceived ideas. They also think that, the more trades they make, they can make money. I think it all goes back to a very simple thing, Kiran. You just have to be patient. You have to be aware of what you're doing, right? You have to be aware of yourself, right? You must be disciplined enough to follow your strategy. I think you must have a strategy in the first place. To all the beginners, you don't have the strategy. I think you don't have a clear strategy. That's what happened to me. I have so many strategies. I don't know which one works, which one doesn't work. And that actually caused me to do a lot of overtrades. So you must have a simple strategy, but objective, right? It must be objective. I mean, at least you can communicate to, say, a 15-year-old kid, okay, maybe to your brother or to your sister. It must be objective, meaning must have a stop loss, must have a take profit, must have your entry price, and the exact time when you buy it, right? And of course, how many lots you want to buy. This is position sizing. So it must be objective. Number two is that I think, right, they don't have strategy in the first place. Second, they are not patient enough to wait for that setups, right? Strategy will lead you to setups, correct? So you have to wait for that setups. Now, the problem is that we have so many setups. Even for one strategy, you can have a lot of setup, but that setup may not be perfect. It is not optimal. In my case, for example, I use footprint chart. I love footprint chart a lot. Yeah, I think footprint chart is a lesser known chart style, right? So that's why it's very popular and it's very, very powerful, especially for scalper. Yeah. So if you use footprint chart, you can have lots, probably hundreds of setup in just a matter of hours. So you still need to filter it, right? So that's one. Other than that, I think most people also do not have very basic things like they are impatient, they don't have patience, and then they don't have confidence in themselves, probably, right? They lack of it's not only self-confidence, but also self-trust. You also have to trust yourself. Yeah, you have not only to trust your system, also trust yourself. You have to be aware of all the thoughts in your mind. You have to be aware whether you're happy, whether you're sad, whether you have any distraction before you trade, right? Even though you have strong catalyst for that night, yeah? Because in my case, I realize when I'm happy, I see different chart pattern. When I'm sad, although it's the same bull flag pattern, right? So your psychology is very important. And you also have to be aware of the minds, before you start trading. In my case, for example, my typical trading life will start 2 hours before US market open. Normally start about 7 o'clock in the morning Eastern time. Yeah. So you have this pre-market. That is where I start my routine. I will start looking all the chart patterns. I'll start looking at the key price levels. Okay. So most beginners, they do not know what are the chart pattern they're looking at. What are the key price levels? They have so many price levels. You have moving average, you have VWAP, you have Fibonacci, you have so many price levels. So you're not sure which price level that you need to use. So my advice is that make sure you know the key price level, right? Whatever strategy that you have, yeah. Normally the best price level is a psychological level, right? So that should be the basic thing that you need to do. In other words, is preparation. Nobody do preparation, right? We straight away execute. We don't have that kind of preparation. So at least in my case, when I prepare, I have 2 contingency plan. When the key price level is broken, or when the key price level is not hit, right? So I got 2 plans. So when the market open after the pre-market or before the pre-market, you have some ideas that when that price level can be broken or not, right? So I probably trade small before market open. Of course, when the market open, that is my power hour. My power hour normally, lasts about 1 hour to 2 hours after the market open, because I'm a scalper using footprint chart. Again, most beginners, I think they are not sure what is their power hour. Different traders will have different power hour, right? If you are mean reversion type of people, your power hour could be 2 hours after market open. If you're a trend follower, you use a lot of momentum, a super trend stocks, I'm pretty sure your power hour will be the first 30 minutes or 1 hour when the market open. So I think most of the people that have traded before, they do not make money because, number one, they do not know their strategy. They don't have a strategy. They don't have a trading plan. They don't have strong confidence about the system that they're using, and they trade so much. They trade too much. They overtrade, right? They should restrict their trades only to their power hour. Sometimes they don't have to trade, right? No trade is a trade. No action is actually an action for a trader. Yeah, and please don't.
I think
don't watch
summarized
CNBC or Bloomberg to trade, right? CNBC and Bloomberg is good, but it's not conducive. In my case, to switch on CNBC and trade at the same times, it can confuse me a lot, right? So you really have to be aware of all these, productive or disruptive factors around your life when you trade.
It's like you say, you have to think a little bit contrarian. And if you're watching, something, not saying that Bloomberg, for example, puts out false news to make traders do the incorrect things, but it's a distraction. For example, if you're about to execute a position, the worst thing that you could do is go onto Twitter or YouTube and type prediction for, I don't know, the ES. And then you see hundreds of other traders' charts and you start going, oh, maybe they're right. Maybe I mean, that's just not a position that anybody wants to be in. But like I say, when a new trader comes to the market, they think that it does or in numbers. And I know this because this is what I used to do. I would get a trade idea and I would go into Telegram groups. I would go into Twitter, Instagram, anywhere I could, and find other traders to back up my idea. And over time, I realized actually the ideas that got backed by more people were generally the worst trades that I could have taken. Because if everybody's thinking the same, it's only going to go one way, right? So I think you summarized that. This chair's a bit squeaky, so if you hear a weird noise, I promise it's the chair.
No, it's okay. It's okay. It's all right. It's okay.
I think you summarized that perfectly in that, there's so many moving parts to being a trader on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
And, somebody who isn't quite experienced takes an edge or a strategy and they think that they're ready, but they don't realize that they're only just getting on the train, and there's all these other moving parts that they now need to conquer. And, you know, my question to you was, why do you think people fail? And I think it's like you say, they don't have the patience, they don't have the preparation, they don't have all of these other moving parts. And when they realize that the strategy isn't enough, they just ignore what's in front of them, or they turn around and, you know, leave the markets without trying to learn more and actually taking it in a professional stance. But we're going to do something a little bit different now, because we haven't done this on the Zero Edge before, but I know you're really keen to share your charts and get into some technical work. So we're gonna get your charts open. I believe we're going to be looking at the ES, and you're going to share with us a position idea. You know, I don't want to put pressure onto you to divulge everything that you do, the strategy.
Yeah. Sure.
So feel free to share as much or as little as possible. But, you know, I already know that you're going to be showing things that not everybody uses, i.e. volume footprints and stuff. So whenever you're ready, get your screen up and take us through it.
I've been waiting for this question, Kiran. All right. Okay. So I'm very excited to share maybe the weapon that I'm using, right? Let me share my screen first. As you know, I always believe that the more popular the method they use, the less effective it is. So I think the method I'm using is, you know, relatively less known to traders in the world. I'm going to share my screen now. Right. Okay, Kiran, do you see this?
I do indeed.
All right, good. Okay. What I'm showing here on the screen is what we call footprint chart, right? Also known as numbers chart, right? I love this chart so much because I think it filters a lot of noise, okay? If you use footprint chart, of course, this is NQ, NASDAQ. This is ES, right? Well, you can use whatever instrument that you want, probably gold. Well, I do trade gold sometimes, even oil, yeah? But when you use footprint chart, all that you do is you focus on the battle between the real buyer and the real seller. When I say real, I mean the aggressive buyer and the aggressive seller. Footprint chart, you can see here, right? Can you see the red bar and the green bar on the dead price level, Kiran? Can you see that?
Yes.
Right? And you can see there's another, you know, candlestick-like bar down here.
Mm-hmm.
And you have 6 columns here, what I call my key statistic that I use before I jump in, right? So this is NASDAQ, and this is what we call the footprint candle. It's different from the traditional candle because it eliminates all of the noise. What I mean is there's no passive buyer and passive seller. All that you see here, they're all aggressive buyer, aggressive seller. What does aggressive buyer means? Aggressive buyer means buyers that want the trades now. That means they hit the offer. All that they do is just hit the offer. All right. And aggressive seller are those that want to sell now. They don't care. They just want to sell it now, which means they hit the bid. Hit the bid, hit the offer, right? So I use 3 columns here, right? You can see the amount of aggressive contracts on the left, buy contracts on the right side, and aggressive sell contract on the left side. Okay? So from here, not only you can see who is winning, right? You can see, for example, in this candle, right? It's pretty obvious. Aggressive seller is winning at almost all price level, right? All price level at almost, except 3, 1, 2, 3, maybe 4, yeah? But most of the price level is won by the aggressive seller. So what does it mean? It means the seller is in control. And not only that, you can also see very important data that you cannot see in the traditional candlestick chart, which is the imbalance. Can you see the blue numbers there, Kiran? And the red numbers there? That is imbalance. Imbalance are very powerful, especially for scalper. Right, of course, if therefore you can combine with a VWAP, which I love a lot, right? I use VWAP a lot. I also have a couple of traditional technical analysis indicators such as moving average. But I find VWAP is the most powerful of all these averages. And I combine it with delta, right? This is delta. It means the bearish delta, bullish delta. Delta means aggressive buyer versus aggressive seller. You have that golden arrow, the golden signal, I call it, for scalper, which means when the market make a new high and you see aggressive seller come and start selling. Price make a new high, right? And aggressive seller come. Then you have this, what I call a bear gold signal, right? So this is, to me, this is very powerful approach that I use, and it's different from the traditional candlestick. Bear in mind, this is I'm using a 30 tick range. You can also use 20 tick range or 10-point range. I have a couple of range chart I use, but they are also print charts. I hope that gives you a simple, overview of the footprint chart. I love it because I can see the imbalance, or to be more exact, the step imbalance. I want to see imbalance above another price level of imbalance, another price level of imbalance. I call it step imbalance. And the beauty of this footprint chart, it can also tells you when does the aggressive seller come or the aggressive buyer come, and it gives you see the pink horizontal line. Do you see this, Kiran? Yep. Right? That is where the liquidity come into the picture. You can see power trades.
But true liquidity, not just a technical pattern. You're actually looking at trader volume, which is kind of what I would consider to be true liquidity, right?
Correct. The large print. Footprint chart is nothing new. In the old time, we call this tape reading. This is the modern way of doing tape reading, as simple as that. Mm-hmm. And I think this is relatively super accurate to me, and it is very good for active traders. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, I love it so much.
Yeah, it's something that, I mean, I did a bit of there's a trader from Twitter who posted or used to post blogs about, because he used to trade with footprint, and I used to read all his blogs, but I never was able to implement it because it doesn't work with CFDs, right? Because you don't have true reflections of market volume, because you're looking at a broker's book as opposed to the actual open market. But one thing that, like you say, it's a true representation of what's actually going on behind the scenes. For example, you can make money and you can be profitable looking at a Japanese candlestick chart. It's absolutely fine. But when you look at the footprint, you see at certain levels within that candle what actually happened. So you might see a really big bearish candle, but if liquidity was thin and there was no volume in that candle, it might tell a different story. But you're not going to know that from looking at the actual candlestick chart. You would have to see the volume footprint. Or, for example, if you're coming into a strong key level and you see a huge amount of absorption on, within the footprint, that there's a high likelihood that price is going to plow through the level. Let's say a huge bid comes in at, a key area of support and it just gets absorbed straight away. It tells you one thing, that level is going to get broken through. So it's something that, I would encourage everybody to take a look at if they haven't done in the past. Obviously, you can't use it with CFDs. It's more stocks and futures and stuff. But like you say, it's your golden ticket, right?
Yes, correct. I think you need a tick data, all right? I think when you use CFD, the problem with CFD is that you can't see You want to see a central point of tick data, because footprint chart actually focus on micro picture, granular picture. The footprint chart actually focus on the interaction between the aggressive buyer and the aggressive seller. It does not care about the passive buyer and passive seller. It only zoom on aggressive buyer and aggressive seller. That's why I don't have DOM here. Some people use DOM. And some people use volume profile. I don't use volume profile. I just keep it very simple. All that I want to see is who is winning. Is it aggressive buyer, aggressive seller? I think delta is very important to me, delta percentage. And of course, the key price level, as you said, the key price level, in this case, maybe I'm looking around VWAP here, right? The 1-day VWAP here, the pink level here. You want to see a clean low. You want to see a sliding, call it seller, right? You have, the seller get exhausted. And then you want to see something like this, what I call the gold arrow, which means price make a new low and suddenly aggressive buyer come and push the price higher. And then you jump in and you hold for a few minutes.
So
it can be
execute based on... Sorry, go ahead.
But you see, because I'm a scalper by profession, I have to do this many times in a day, right? My aim is just to make a small amount of price movement, but lots of trades. Probably 5-point or 10-point Nasdaq, and perhaps 20 or 30 trades in a few hours. So that can be a bit tiring. You have to devote, lots of attention, especially in the first 2 hours when the market opens.
So do you combine this with any technical patterns, or do you execute purely and solely off of what we're seeing now on the screen?
Yeah, I can say 80% of my approach is purely on footprint chart, nothing else. But sometimes when you focus on footprint chart, you may lose the context. You may lose the big picture. That is where I have at least, candlestick chart and volume profile on a long-term chart.
Right? I'm guessing you hide the wicks.
Yeah, I hide the wicks. To me, wicks is a distraction to me, right? Wicks is distraction. I just want to focus on Maru Bozu. Maru Bozu means a long body candle. It's either the green or the red one. Yeah, I use this maybe 10 or 20% of all time. But most of the time, I just focus on my footprint chart using 10-point and 20-point range chart. So I love this so much.
It's interesting because I think a lot of the viewers won't have used this in the past, and they probably will be thinking now, oh, how do I go and get this data? You're using Sierra charts, right? This is
I use last time I used Quant Tower, I used Ninja Trader. But over time, I realized that software is so simple to me. I cannot create my own indicator. So I use Sierra Chart. Well, Sierra Chart is a bit complicated. It takes a lot of learning curve here. But I can create my own customized indicators using footprint chart. So that's why I love Sierra Chart a lot.
So do you code these indicators, or do you get people to do it for you?
No. Yeah, I get a programmer. I'm not a programmer by myself, but I hire a few programmers.
And you just tell them that what you want to see, and they will go away and implement it. Yeah.
Yes, they know me. I've been working with them for a few years already. Yeah. I hear them from time to time. This is another lesson for all traders. You cannot expect your strategy to work at all times. You have to be adaptable. Market is dynamic. Market always change. So does your technique. Okay. So you have your technique or your chart have to evolve as the market evolve. But of course, I try to keep it simple. In the end, I use these gold signals and delta breakout, right? This is what I call delta breakout, the blue arrow, right? It means whenever the delta is 2 times of the average of the last 5 delta, that means aggressive buyer is very, very strong. They come from nowhere, and you just have to jump to get them again, especially during the power hour.
It's real. It's interesting stuff because, like I say, this is it's that next layer of what's actually happening, and you can see it clear as day. Who's in control? You know, there's a lot of terms that get thrown around the industry these days, like order flow and stuff like that. You can't see order flow by looking at a candlestick chart, because it's just a candle's just a representation of what we're looking at here, which is who's in control, the bigger buyers, the bigger sellers, what's happening at certain key areas. Is there absorption? Is there blow through? And being like I say, I trade CFDs only, so I can't really implement this into my strategy, but I think I need to make the transition over to futures, really.
Agree. As I said, there are thousands of ways of making money. I think what matters is that you got to find one strategy that fits yourself, that's compatible with your, your personality. Maybe in your case, you love candlestick, right, Kiran? So
I love data. So anything that's data is up my street, which is why I like this, because it's numbers. It's not a discretionary view of a specific candlestick pattern or chart pattern, it's all data, and you can take a message from that data as soon as you know what you're looking at.
I know one of my friend who is also in the Robbins World Cup Championship. He's also one of the top 5 trader in the world. He does not use charts at all. Can you believe that, Kiran? Does not use chart at all, right? And he only used stock tweet. You know what is stock tweet?
Nope.
Right? It's a Twitter dedicated for traders. So what he do is every night or every hour, he have this software that measure the amount of mention. How many mention does people talk about certain stocks? Say gold, for example. Right? The more people talk about gold, for example, the more he's going to short. Right? So
it's fading momentum, basically, and playing on others' euphoria by just,
I would say that he has a very non-traditional approach. He's using sentiment indicators, which is not charts, right? And I think that system works well for him, right? So I think everybody will have their own ways of making money.
Yeah, and that's super important, is finding, like you say, finding the way that suits you, because we all have different personalities and we all have different cognitive bias. I tend to think a lot of humans, or human nature in general, is very pessimistic. So and it's funny actually, I looked through one of my old journals before, and I'm not exaggerating, I think 93 or 94% of my trades were all short. And it got me thinking, why am I only shorting? 6% of my trades over a year were long. And I was thinking,
seriously, Kiran?
Completely serious. I'll see if I've got the journal still, because it was in one of my old folders.
It sounds like a George Soros to me.
I think what I was doing is I had a very negative approach or a negative view of every chart that I looked at. It wasn't to say that all the charts were bearish. It was just when I looked at them, I, in my head, justified it coming down easier than I justified it going up, because we go, for this to go up, it needs X, Y, Z. Can it happen? The flow needs to come in. When it goes to dumping, I mean, I have a background in crypto as well, so I see these 10-20% dumps. So I look at a chart and automatically my bias goes, okay, where can this fall to? And there was such a mismatch in that, my short and long like, you know, how many trades I'd taken short, how many trades I'd taken long. And it wasn't until I implemented the data approach that I was talking to you about earlier, where my bias is done by the data and not by me, that my trades are actually pretty much 50-50 now, because it's all based on certain data points that I don't control. So as soon as that bias is done, I don't care whether I think it's bearish or bullish. I'm looking for a way to execute. But that works for me. Somebody else, it might not work for at all. And I think, again, going back to, you know, what we were talking about earlier with the snake oil salesman and the social media, is we see somebody performs well and we think that we can replicate that 100%. But the truth is, you genuinely or generally cannot do that. And you have to find a way to better yourself. This is why I always say a trading journal will teach you more than any mentor you ever have will, about you as a person and about you as a trader. Do you agree with that?
I agree with that. I call this sixth sense for traders. You know, different traders have different sixth sense. In your case, you got a sixth sense for shorting, Kiran. I should ask you, what are the stocks I need to short tonight? You just have that sixth sense.
It wasn't successful.
Yeah, well, at least you have that, you know, strong intuition that you feel confident which stocks is going to go down instead of going to go up, right? So I think what you say is perfect. I always believe that traders need to be honest with themselves. You just have to be yourself. Be yourself. Don't copy your friend. Don't be like your friend. Don't be like whatever guru that you learn, right? They are just another animals. You just have to know what is your lifestyle or what is your personality, right? Be honest with yourself. Don't pretend that you are somebody else when you trade. That is how you get a lot of self-confidence, or to be more exact, self-trust, right? So when you become yourself, as you said, genuine with yourself, then you will start to know that you have some talent in certain aspects of trading. For example, in my case, I'm not good in swing trading. I'm not good in swing trading. Maybe I should share. Do you mind if I share my workout ranking?
No, absolutely.
Just a quick one.
It was going to be my next question anyway, so.
This is the Workout Trading Championship, right? We have so many categories here, right? In the Robbins World Cup. I have tried this category for years. This category is for swing, right, Kiran? And I never win. I never find myself in the top 5. I'm just a very poor guy in swing trading. But this is my territory, which is scalping, right, or day trading championship, right? Of course, currently I'm number 2. And he is also scalping, right? Currently I'm number 1. I was also the former quarter 1, you know, championship for day trading. And where is it? This one, second quarter, right? So for all day trading, I find it very easy to be in the top 5. Yeah.
I'm just checking. Are you supposed to be sharing your screen?
Oh, I'm not sharing my screen.
No, it's not up at the moment.
Let me
just wanted to make sure. There we go. Perfect.
You find it?
Yes, can see it now. Okay,
all right. This is Robin World Cup Trading Championship. These are the swing trading. Again, I've tried many years. I'm not even in the top 5 for at least 2 years. But I find it very easy to use my system and win the trading championship, right? So there are many categories here. All day trading championship. My system work. Of course, currently I'm number 2. I'm number 1 here. This is also scalping versus swing, right? Works wonders for me. I was the former champion for quarter 2 day trading championship. We have a lot of my colleagues here. They're also scalpers like me. And I'm also quarter 1 winners for day trading championship. My point here is that if you look at my history, for some reason, my strategy only works best for day trading or short-term time frame, and not so good for swing or core trading. Yeah.
Which is absolutely fine, because like you said, there's so many ways to skin a cat, you know, and 1,000,001 ways to make money in the markets. You don't have to be a jack of all trades. You need to be an expert at one, you know, and the fact that you've found your niche where you can be the expert is far better than trying to be the best swing trader when you know that you're not, you know, and that you've been lying to yourself. I find personally, I'm the same as you. I think there's too much room for error in swing trading.
You're right.
When I'm looking at what I look at, and it's not quite optimized for it. Same as scalping probably is. I like a wider stop, so I like to work an area a little bit more. So it wouldn't work me being a scalper, but an intraday trader is the sweet spot. Not saying it's the right way, but for me, it's the right way, and it's clearly is for you as well. Being a scalper, you know. I mean, those numbers are.
Agree, but it is strange, isn't it? You see, you learn together, you know, all of your colleagues, you go through the same academy. In my case, we go through the same academy for many, many months, but in the end, you use the same method and it only works at a certain time frame. All right? In my case, probably 15 minutes and below, right? And my other colleagues is day and weekly works wonders. Although we use the same chart pattern, right? But now it's my turn to ask you. Are you okay, Kiran?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. You know, being a trader yourself, and also you come from a very respectable, developed country like UK, London, Birmingham, all this. I'm just, you know, I'm just wondering, why can't we have, you know, big name universities that come up with a degree or even a master degree specializing in trading? Why can't we have that? Why? I don't see any. Forget about Ivy League universities. Forget about Cambridge and Oxford. Why can't we see a specialized university dedicated for traders?
I think we are in an industry, and it's not just. I could be completely wrong here. This is just my opinion, but I think we're in an industry that pays insanely well when you're at the top of your game. And for a trader who has the background and can make ridiculous amounts of money, because universities will vet, you know, that you as a lecturer and make sure that you can walk the walk, it wouldn't make sense financially for a qualified and professional trader to go and teach at a university and earn, you know, somewhere between 40 and 60 grand a year in the UK, maybe slightly higher depending on profession, when you know that trading isn't necessarily, other than the stress, you can do it until you're 70, 80, 90. You might adapt your approach, but why would you change careers completely and go and teach people for a small sum of money in comparison to they might.
I'm not talking about making money from being a lecturer or from the academy. All that I want to see is I want to see an established institution dedicated, especially in a developed world, so that they can produce certified professional traders as young as 19 years old, 20 years old. By the way, right, how big is the stock market in the world? Can you make a guess, Kiran? How big is the stock market in the world?
40 trillion.
Huge. More than that. It's 100 trillion US dollar. The latest data that I checked. The value of all stock exchange in the world, China plus UK plus US, it's about 100 trillion US dollar. Now, let me ask you, how many consistent traders that you think outside there?
Not a lot.
Yeah, make a guess. How many? 1,000? 10,000? 100,000?
Yeah. 5,000? 4,000?
Exactly. It's less than 10,000, right? So you have 100 trillion US dollar worth of stock market, right? And you only have less than 10,000 professional traders, consistent traders. And you know that traders can contribute a lot to the economic growth of the countries, right? So why can't politician or government give more, effort or grant to develop a more systematic, academic institution, produce continuous strength, streams of trade. That's my dream anyway. Yeah, I'm just expressing my hope, right? So I don't see that dedicated effort, at least at the Malaysian level, right? We need to see teachers or lecturers, teach kids as young as 6 years old what is stock market, what is bull, what is bear, what is long, what is short, right? Options maybe, I think that is the dream that I want to see. Maybe Darwinex can introduce a new category for kids.
Darwinex kids.
Yeah, why not?
I think you might find, and this is me putting a bit of a conspiracy theory hat on, is that, out of that 100 trillion US, how much of that volume is done by central banks and investment banks and hedge funds?
Wow.
And then you start begging the question, is there, why would you want more people taking a piece of the pie? Again, it's a theory. I'm not saying that that's what I believe, but it's a zero-sum game. For one person to lose, another wins, and if one person to win, another person loses. If it's working, and why would they want to introduce more people to come and take a slice of the winnings? Just a theory, but it could have weight to it.
Fair enough. You should ask that question to Donald Trump or to Kamala Harris. We should start somewhere from the US first. And,
but I do think, if you get a job at an investment bank or a prop desk, that's probably the best education you get anyway, is if you go and learn in the professional environment, because you have so many people around you that are doing it day in, day out, and you kind of get to learn. I do think trading is something that you learn on the job. There's an element of understanding the what goes on behind the scenes, but I think personally there's a huge error in the educational system before university, where kids leave school at the age of 16, where they're starting to develop their view on the world, but they have no idea on politics, they have no idea on budgeting and personal finance, they have no idea on wealth generation. And I think it goes far deeper, and this is my personal view, it goes far deeper than university level, we need to make better traders. But actually, when people get to university, their view has been so curated to what the curriculum wants them to learn that, again, like I say, look how many people are in debt, right? But if you probably taught these when they were children about debt, and not necessarily debt, because I think debt's a broad term, but bad debt, and budgeting and like I say, personal finance, understanding that tax is going to be a big thing when you grow up, and just getting these people aware. A lot of people would make different life choices, whereas instead we teach ridiculous stuff at schools that people don't need to know. But that's my stance on it.
I agree. Fair enough. I agree. It's fair enough.
Yeah.
Yes,
at least, wealth generation and budgeting. But that goes against, again, I'm going to sound like a conspiracy theorist, that goes against the plan to generate a workforce, right? The system, or the economic system, builds a workforce of people who are going to go out and work at companies that build the economic growth. Every person that you take out of that workforce who learns how to generate wealth or make a living by themselves doesn't necessarily stunt to the economic growth, but they certainly don't contribute, because they're doing it for personal reasons.
Correct.
So my answer to your original question, which is why we don't have that, I would say it's accumulation of all of those theories. I mean, I hope I don't get cancelled for saying all of that, but that's genuinely what I believe. I think there's a huge misjudgment on what we teach children.
Yeah, let's hope things can change. Yeah. After all, the market is too big for anybody, right? And I'm sure the market is going to grow. I hope there'll be more instruments that's going to be introduced. I hope I can trade not only the stock market, I can also trade Lamborghini, whatever you call it, Ferrari, right? You already have NFT, right? NFT, non-fungible elements where you can trade using cryptos. I think that is very promising development for traders, where you can start trading, outside the stock market. That is cool. Yeah, that is cool. But one thing that I want to say here is, I think at least in my case, I think passion is everything.
Yeah, 100%.
Yes, I'm passionate about trading. I trade not because I want to make money. I trade because I love it, right? I trade because I'm curious about the money flow. Yeah, I'm very curious about the order flow. That's why I use footprint chart a lot. I always think the market is being manipulated. I hate Wall Street, right? I always believe they try to manipulate the retail traders. That could be part of the catalyst that put me where I am today, as twice world champ in the Robbins World Cup. And I hope I can do more. And I really welcome Darwinex, Darwinex Zero, right? Darwinex Zero.
Yeah.
You can start without a single cent of money. You have very powerful educational resource. You have peers to support you. You have tons of metrics or statistics that you can check. How good is your system? Something that you don't get if you use MetaTrader or you use the typical brokers, right?
And it's completely unbiased. It's hard.
Exactly.
It's a bit of pill to swallow sometimes when it says you're highly risky. I have this argument with many people. I'm like, it's not saying it to bring you down. It's saying it because it's completely unbiased,
And you cannot copycat other traders.
Yeah.
So Darwinex and you copy trade other traders.
Yeah, exactly. Okay? Which other people, again, don't necessarily like.
They have the same correlation, right?
Yeah.
So I think that, I want to see, Darwinex to expand, maybe open more branch, especially here in Asia, Malaysia, Indonesia, Brunei, the Muslim country especially, because I think Darwinex gives you access global market without putting in your capital, right? And of course, the best is you can have a cut of the performance fee, right? If you're good, right? And I think that could be very, very powerful, especially if you are, if you get the license and all that, right? I think that could be that is, to me, that is like a cherry in your career, with something that I don't find it 20 years ago. I wish Darwinex was there. I know Darwinex was there. I wish that I found Darwinex when I'm 20 years old.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask you a couple of questions because we're gonna have to finish soon because we're coming to the closing time. But you are two-time Robbins World Championship winner. You've had 10 allocations with Darwinex Zero. You're in DarwinIA GOLD.
Correct.
What is your long-term plan as a trader? Like, what you're reaching the heights of the heights everywhere you go and every competition that you compete in. So it's clear that you have cemented your legacy as a trader, but where do you go from here? What's next steps for DDNK? We need to put a little disclaimer. Your Darwin is SDKK and your name is DDNK. I was getting really confused when I was doing my research. But what is your next step?
Okay, I think it has been everybody's dreams, for any traders, we always believe the fastest way to make money is to share with other people to trade other people's money, right? Because we know there are lots of people that have lots of money, but they do not know how to grow their money. And on the other hand, you have lots of people that do not have the money, but they have very powerful men and weapons to grow the money. So I hope one day, right, my dream is just to set up my own hedge fund. I've been very consistent on this. I want to see, the first world Sharia hedge fund, maybe in London or, in New York or whatever, right? And Darwinex is just a platform for me, right? I think my icon or my idol is Jim Simon. I'm sure I've heard of him. Jim Simon's one of the most successful hedge fund trader in the world.
Yeah.
He is not from finance background. He used pattern recognition, right? He is a trader, right? Yet he's in hedge fund industry. And for the last 30 years, his average return for one of his flagship product, which is Medallion Fund, is more than 60%, right? And he does not use a single theories about finance. He used non-finance model. So similarly, I want to use non-traditional model, alternative models, so that I can beat the market, deliver alpha, slightly above average return, and to share it, with the world, right? And I hope I can do. My dream is that maybe, hopefully, before I die, I can leave behind me a legacy, using non-traditional models, perhaps, footprint technology or whatever, right? To deliver good return to the world. Yeah.
I love that. And so with that goal in mind and all your experience, you said you wish you had Darwinex Zero when you first started out. What for you, as you don't consider anybody else in this response, but for you, what is the biggest value of having Darwinex Zero? Because like I say, you're already world champion in the Robbins Cup, but what is the true value of Darwinex Zero to you?
You have tons of metrics and statistics to support your trade. You know from the beginning whether you are risk aggressive, whether you are a slingshot trader, whether you are a gambler, or whether you just make money because of luck, right? So you know your risk parameters. At the same time, you also know your profit parameters. You want to see improvement in your statistic, yeah? Not only that, you also know your trades every day. It's like having a trading diary every day. So you know what are the common character of all your losses? What are your common character of your biggest 20% of your profit? Yeah. Apart from, I think, the huge educational results that Darwinex has. Yeah. But I think the best about Darwinex, in my case, where I come from Malaysia, yeah, relatively, unknown at a global level in terms of stock market, is Darwinex gives me a global market, right? It gives me global market, right? So I just need to brand my name using Robbins Cup, right? And of course, improve my ranking, right? And I have the global market direct from Darwinex Zero, yeah? And maybe not now, maybe 5 years or 10 years down the road.
So it's a stepping stone for you to expand your reach.
Right. I just want Darwinex to go big.
Yeah.
Maybe to go more into developing countries, especially Middle East and Southeast Asia, because you find millions of Muslim traders, right? I think we are very conservative when it comes to trading, right? And I think maybe Darwinex can help to dispel all these notions and, give more educational value to us.
Yeah, I love that. I'll feed that back to the team. I'll say we've got an angle that we can go and work on. So that brings us to the final question, which is a question that I give every guest a slight variance to, just to keep it a little bit fresh. But in your case, I want to ask you, if you could speak to DDNK 25 years ago when you're 23 years old, first getting into the markets or first learning about the markets, what's the one piece of advice that you think would have excelled your career tenfold, knowing what you know now?
I would say keep it simple, stick with one strategy, and document all of your trades. You must keep track of all your trades. I've made thousands of trades. I never keep track. Right? I do the same mistake again and again. I'm being very silly, relatively stupid. I do the same mistake because I never keep track of my trades. You know, only after 20 years, I go back and study all of my trades. I realize if I only focus on certain hour of the day, I will probably make thousands or even millions of money over the last 20 years.
Perfect. I'm glad you said that, because I always talk about journaling and the importance of reviewing your journal. So it's fantastic. But I just want to extend a massive thank you for coming on and speaking to us today.
Same to you, Kieran.
If anybody wants to check out your Darwin, it's SDKK, and you also have a website, don't you? It's something .ai, right? Was it DDNK?
Yeah, it's www.ddnk.ai.
Perfect. So if anybody wants to check out more information about you, is that the best place to go, or are you usually active elsewhere?
Correct. It's ddnk.ai.
Okay, yeah. Perfect. Well, you know, again, from me and the team at Darwinex Zero, I just want to say a massive thank you for coming on and talking to me. It's been insightful for me, to say the least, so I'm sure the viewers are going to agree. So have a fantastic rest of your day, dude, and I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah. I love our discussion. I'm not aware that we have been talking about more than 1 hour, 30 minutes.
Yep.
Yeah, feel like 10, 20 minutes. Anyway, I enjoy it.
I'm going to get in trouble for that.
Thanks, Kieran.